Good morning to everyone who's watching my YouTube channel. Another verse of the day. First of all, I'd like to apologize to you all for not having recorded for a couple of days, but we all know how life gets sometimes, how get busy with stuff and don't always have time for things we want to do. Um, Although it is said that we can make time for whatever we want, so there's that too. But anyway, Leviticus chapter 20 is the verse is where I found a verse for this morning. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 9. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 9 says the following: For every one that curseth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. He hath cursed his father or his mother. His blood shall be upon him. I'm sure many of us have heard this verse and verses very similar. Thou shalt honor thy father and thy mother, Ephesians, if I recall correctly. Um, all of us have heard these verses before, reminding us to respect our parents. However, it's interesting that this verse is not talking necessarily about cursing aggressively, um, as actual using cursings against our parents. Sorry. Forgive me for that. What it's actually talking about here is not simply cursing. It's talking about making light of our parents. The word curseth, the word in Hebrew that is translated curseth in the King James Version, means literally to be light, figuratively means to be light, and it means to make light of a situation or a person. In other words, the verse is saying, do not make light of your parents. Now, sometimes in English at least, making light of something can mean you're just playing with the person. You're just having fun. And it's not a problem to have fun with our parents, to say things in play. I know around here in our house sometimes we'll say things sarcastically to each other. We'll say things that perhaps might be offensive if they were not in a playing situation. Of course, you got to be careful with that too, because the tone of voice can really reveal a lot, and all of a sudden you've offended somebody without meaning to, just playing with them just by your tone of voice. But that's the whole point of this verse here. The whole point of this verse and the word it uses here is to remind us that even in our playing with our parents and our family, specifically our parents in this verse, we need to not be disrespectful. Every Christian should be respectful to their parents. Either directly or indirectly, my parents have had a tremendous influence on my life. My parents have always tried to teach me to love and serve God, to read His Word, to spend time with Him, to grow spiritually. My parents have always invested in me in my life. And so I owe to them respect because of that. But even if my parents hadn't done that, even if my parents had been the type, as I know there are many parents out there in the world who don't care at all about what their children go through, what their children need spiritually and physically, even so, those parents deserve respect. Specifically, or only because they are parents, only because children need to obey their parents and respect them according to God's commandments. Disrespect is something that should never find its way into a father-son, mother-son relationship. Disrespect should never find its way into any relationship, but especially with our parents. So, even if we play with our parents, even if we have fun with our parents and make light of certain situations, we should never disrespect them. We should never make light of their counsel, never make light of the things they tell us, the stories they tell, the experiences they tell us about. We should never make light of those things because God gave them to us for the purpose of teaching us and helping us to grow. This verse really caught my attention today because I never realized that that word curseth is talking about so much more than simply talking bad about them. But it's actually talking about the disrespect that can develop for our parents if we're not careful. So, can we play with our parents? Joke around with them? Have fun with them? Yes, I've seen that many times. Especially with my dad. He loves to play around with his parents. And I love to play around with my mom and dad. But, like I said, let's be careful to not disrespect our parents in any way.